Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious. You can join us in broadening our minds on the Nameless Debates Discord via the link below and even feature here yourself, if you've got what it takes.
So what do you want to talk about?
Okay. Like, why is it that you don't want to consider that maybe your action about the universal mind might be false?
Well, when it comes down to it, I think there's only two class of entities that you can model as having some sort of necessary existence. And I think, and I said in the last debate, it's either usually it's been considered to be abstract objects or God. And usually when theologians talk about God, they mean an ultimate mind. You know what I mean? So really this just comes down to what exists necessarily, abstract objects or God. And I say, well, it's not either either. I say both, right? I say both. And I do believe abstract objects necessarily, but I believe they exist necessarily along with a mind. So you can't necessarily reduce the mind to some description. Where did you go? Hello?
Sorry, my mic cut out for a bit.
Oh, okay. What was I
Yeah,
saying? I was
so
saying, yeah,
I don't
so
really
let me.
think you answered my question though.
Oh, I was in the process of answering it.
I mean, you said that you think it's both, but what if
Right,
it's
and I
just
was
one?
well, but it doesn't seem you can have one without the other
How do you know?
because but you need a mind to
No,
know
but how
anything
do you know that?
through my mind. Because if I can't represent it through my mind, I just don't understand how. It's
Okay,
like
but that's
it
not
just comes down to
representative.
saying
No, but
it
wait,
just
wait,
comes.
wait. Let's just analyze
Okay,
that. You said you
okay. I
don't
don't want to honestly.
understand
I
how
don't
it
want to
could
get
be
into a
possible,
debate. I don't
right?
want to insult. I just want to have a talk about it, man. I don't like.
Yeah, no,
We don't
I'm
have
just
to.
trying to talk about it. You said you don't
Yeah.
understand how it could be possible. Isn't that right?
Well, and the reason I justify why I can't comprehend it being a possibility is because it's identical to saying mind external truth, right? And this is how it can't define the noumena,
Yeah,
right?
but
He
it's
says
not
it's something that
completely
is.
mind external.
Well, then it's in a mind. Then that's what follows from that statement. You
No, but
see?
it's not. It doesn't. It's not predicated on the fact that it's in the mind. It is the fact that it is self-existent that allows it to be represented in the mind to begin with.
Right. But then I'm saying it can't be some sort of like self-existent description or some self-existent way things
Why
are
not?
without. Yeah, it can be
Like,
without
how do
it
you know
being in a.
that?
Well, because
How
you
do you
have to
know
know.
that?
Because you have to know through things
No, but
how your
I
mind
don't
represents
accept
it.
that that indicates your conclusion.
Well, but because if it's outside of the mind, you can't know it.
No, I don't accept that that indicates your conclusion. How do you know that? You accept that you're not certain.
Well, but I can't know anything outside the mind.
Look, you can know the product of your perception, even if what you're comprehending isn't presented to you in the apparent phenomena, but is something profound and complicated, but at the same time extremely simple, which is at the basis of it.
Yeah, but how can I know that?
Well, you could deduce it, maybe. We've been doing it for a long time.
Through some mental process?
Yeah, like through the dialectic,
Is it
categorical reasoning.
can it follow that this
Be
condition follows
consistent
with
with
it?
the evidence and reason categorically, and perhaps we can solve the question.
Yes, but then this is presupposing these are all mental processes I have to perform to
But that's
arrive at this
irrelevant.
truth.
Just
No, but
because
it's
you
not
use
because it's saying
no,
it's
but let's
truth.
come on.
Okay,
Just
go.
because you use a mental process to arrive at a subjective truth does not mean that the thing that it represents, which is objective truth, is inherently a subjective thing. It doesn't mean that at all.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's contained in an ultimate subject, even if it's not mine. It's
No,
within
but who
an
says that?
ultimate
How
mind.
do you know that? Have you proven that to be true? Is there an experiment you can do to demonstrate it to me? I don't accept it.
Well, it can't be justified through empiricism. It's
That's
a
not the
form
point.
of.
The point is like, so do you have a proof by contradiction then? So you
Well,
cannot
all
be
my
false.
proofs
Is
are
that
going
what
to just turn into some tautologies again, as I said again, and it's just going to rely on us saying, "Well, how do you know? How do you
But
know? How
that's
do you know?"
irrelevant.
Well,
I'm
because
asking you,
no, but it's not
do you have a
irrelevant.
proof by but
It's
do you
not
have a
irrelevant.
proof by contradiction
Why
that
would
it
a
follows necessarily?
Well, yeah, my proof by contradiction is if it's external to some way that the mind can structure, perceive, or
How is
represent
that a
it.
proof by contradiction? Do you
I'm
know
about
what
to
that
explain it.
is?
If it's external to how the mind can perceive, represent it, or conceptualize it, this is by definition saying it's non-knowable. It can't be known to the mind. So that's saying it's non.
No, I
It's
don't agree.
well, that's exactly
Oh yeah,
what
show me how that follows from the definition.
well, I just did because if it's outside some way
No,
of a
you
mind to represent.
stated that it did. You stated that it did. Can you read me the definitions of the words involved independently, and then explain how they mix together to give the conclusion that you've come to? Because I don't understand how you're getting there.
Well, do you accept? Well, this all comes. Do you accept the mind has a priori structure, like Kant said? It all depends on whether you're going to
No, but
agree with it.
that's an assumption, right?
Well, the only way you can refute it is to assume the mind
No,
doesn't
but
have an a priori.
can you just try to answer my questions? Is it an assumption?
It's just going to get down. But is this going to get down to are you certain about your
No,
assumption?
no. I'm just asking. Is it an assumption?
What's an assumption exactly?
Pardon?
What's an assumption exactly? Do you mean?
It's something that you don't know for sure, but
No,
that
no,
you
no.
take
What am
to
I?
that. But
What am I assuming? Sorry.
okay. That the mind has an a priori structure.
Yes. Well, I'm using that in my argument to show this. Yes.
No, but how I haven't seen that deduction yet. It sounds like you're assuming it.
Kant gave it. I assume you've already read Kant, so you understand his argument for the a priori conditions of space and time. You know, their intuitions. Like he said that
No, but
space and
I
time.
don't accept that that's a complete reduction.
Well, then
It's incomplete.
why
It's an
doesn't the
incomplete
argument?
analysis.
Why doesn't it follow from his arguments?
It's an incomplete analysis. Time and space
Yeah.
are not explained.
Yeah, but you can't explain them except to terminate them in necessary
agree.
truth. Well, then what
Yeah,
do you
you can't.
terminate
No,
them
no,
with?
no, 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 no,
Something.
no. No, sorry. I agree to that. I don't agree with you about what the terminating necessary truth is, fundamentally. Maybe
Well,
there's a better
space.
one than the one you're using. Isn't it
Yeah.
possible?
Well, yeah, but either we admit that it has to be constructed by the mind, or look, the first and
Or, no,
the
or. Do you want
first
to know an
straightforward
or?
truth.
Can I offer you
The
an
first,
or?
wait a second. The first straightforward truth that we all know is that our minds exist. We start from that all the time. I think,
Yes.
therefore I
But
am. We
maybe we
all
can get
start
more
from that.
fundamental. Don't you think philosophy is the process of exposing the implicit assumptions that you're making in your reasoning?
Right, but that's also an assumption, man. I can turn all this into a whole big
No, but
tautology.
that is, dude, that is
No, but hang on,
absolutely
man.
what
But even
philosophy is
saying that,
about.
but wait a second. But even saying that relies on assumptions, man. So it's not even a necessary truth
That's what the
statement. So we,
Socratic method is about.
no. But let me just show you
I'm
what I
just
mean
saying,
by that. Because when,
let's
yeah,
look,
I know what you mean. I
yeah.
know what you mean. But I'm just saying when you say that, well, isn't philosophy X, Y, or isn't anything X? If you say you can't use that because it's an assumption, but then you need to justify why assumptions can't be used in proofs,
No,
and you
but
say,
I'm
well,
not
because you
saying
can't
that.
derive. Oh well,
I'm not
no.
saying
But
you
when you
can't
say
use it because it's an assumption.
okay, but what you would say is that assumptions aren't necessarily proofs; they're not justified.
No. What I'm saying is that if we admit that an assumption is what it is, which is uncertain, we take it to be true for the process of reasoning because that is what we are forced to do because we have to act. That's what an assumption is, something you take to be true because you have to. You have to start somewhere, you have to pick up something. And so we picked the most reasonable one, which, as you said, was our minds exist, right?
Right.
The fact that you are starting with an assumption means that maybe there is an assumption that is better than yours that you could start with, which would serve you better for your purposes.
Yeah, but what my argument is saying, the only way you're going to justify it is just through an assumption. And so
No,
if
but
you
that's
say
what I mean.
that, if
Listen,
you
listen,
say that,
listen.
then that means
It's
any
the
claim that
argument
you
you're
say,
making. No.
yeah, no,
It's the
but wait,
argument you're making.
but that means,
flipped.
no, even if your argument says it's superior than this assumption, then the only way to justify that is through an assumption yet again.
No,
So it's not even a necessary truth.
listen,
So
dude,
it's not even
dude,
true.
listen. What if there are some assumptions which cannot be false?
I think that is the case.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree with you.
But I think the main
Maybe,
one,
but
the
listen,
only one is the mind
listen.
exists.
Dude, no. Listen, okay? Let's admit that we're subjects. We're flawed. We don't understand completely. We can be wrong, right? So, we agree about the fact, which is that there are such things as necessary truths, right? But
Oh, but hang
maybe what's
on.
happening, this is what it sounds like to me, is that we don't agree about what the category contains, right?
Okay, but hang on.
So,
There's two things in contention there. When you say we can't be certain, we don't know, but we think there's necessary truth. But here's the thing: either
no,
there
but
is
yeah,
there is
exactly.
absolute
No.
truth,
Stop.
or there isn't.
I agree with you, but what I'm saying is, like, you could be psychotic, man. You might not even know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, there are lots of ways that, like, your experience could be warped in such a way that you couldn't notice that it was happening,
But
right?
that's according to some ultimate experience. That is the correct experience.
No, but here's what I'm saying is, like, it could just be an illusion.
No, but that's implying there's an ultimate reality, and
No,
that
but
this
yeah,
isn't the
that's all I'm
ultimate
saying
reality.
is, like,
Yeah.
because we know that we don't
But
know,
then, is there an
it's
ultimate
always
reality? That's the
possible.
real question. Is there an ultimate reality?
Yes, there has to be.
Right.
But the point that I'm making
Right.
is, you say, like, we can be sure our minds exist. I'm saying, actually, that's too specific. You can be sure that something exists. That's basically as specific as you are allowed to get.
No,
Something.
I think
Yes,
the most specific
something.
thing is you have to start with your mind first, because everyone
No, but
knows their
here's what I
mind
mean
first.
is maybe there's a
Well,
better something.
didn't you just say because? Doesn't that mean you have to, go down further? You said we have to start down with the mind because.
Because it
Hmm.
is the only thing we can start with. Yeah,
No, I
it's a
don't agree.
tautology.
What if I can suggest a better one? How
Well,
about a
but what
better
you're
tautology
suggesting
than
is a truth that's outside the mind.
Dude, can you just admit that it might be possible? Seriously, that's what I'm angling for.
No,
Just admit that maybe you're wrong. Maybe there is a better truth. Even though
no,
we
because
agree about what we're looking for, maybe you are not absolutely correct about what you found.
no. But you're not understanding my argument. It's saying whatever
I
truth you
no, but
say.
just dude, I
No,
will
but every
listen
truth
very
you offer.
carefully to you.
Okay,
Just admit to me
okay.
you could be wrong. Maybe there is a better truth than the one that you've got, which is more fundamental.
No,
Maybe it's possible, just
but you
because you
don't
don't know.
understand no, but you don't understing what you're saying I could be wrong about. What do you
Can
think
you
I'm saying I
just?
could be wrong? No, but hang on,
No,
man. You're
I
saying
am
I could be wrong.
understanding, dude.
What exactly claim do you think
Okay,
you take me to
so
say I
look,
need to say I could be wrong
you
about?
couldn't listen. You couldn't be wrong about the claim that there are necessary truths. We agree about that. You could be wrong about your claim of what the most fundamental necessary truth is. You say it is that there is some universal mind, and I happen to disagree, and it is possible that you are wrong.
Well, I don't think so. No, because in
No, but of course you don't think so. The point is, admit it's possible.
no, I don't think I can't, man. It's what I believe in.
Dude, you can. All
No,
I'm saying is
everyone
look at
does this.
epistemology. Dude, listen. Look at epistemology. Notice that we know that subjectivity is fundamentally uncertain. You cannot be sure,
No,
right?
but the mind
You
is
just
what is the
can't.
most
There
certain
could be
thing.
stuff that you
No,
don't know, though.
but the only thing that we can know is the existence of the
Oh,
mind.
fuck.
Everyone starts with the mind. There is
Dude,
nothing else.
maybe there's more fundamental assumptions than that.
Yeah, but
Don't you
but what I'm
understand?
saying is,
Like,
yeah,
no,
but listen to what I'm
you're
saying.
talking
When I say,
about.
yeah,
No, listen.
maybe there is, but it has to. If you're saying maybe there is a fundamental assumption at the mind, what this does is puts it outside of what the mind can know. Then that's
No, it
saying
doesn't.
it's
It
well,
doesn't.
what
The
does it
mind is
say? But then
making the fundamental assumption all the time because it's the most fucking natural thing to think.
there you
There
go.
is
So the
something
mind's the
which is
ultimate
real.
reality. The mind is the
No,
ultimate
that's
reality.
a supposition, my dude.
No, but I'm saying there. But what else do we know for certain except the existence of the mind?
Because I can tell you a couple of more fundamental certain facts.
Yeah, but then again, I say the only thing I know with direct certainty is the existence of my mind.
I don't accept that. There are things you can deduce from the existence of your mind which are more certain.
In what way? The mind is directly knowable. Everything else is indirect.
That's not the point. The process of your mind is rational deduction, and you can deduce something more certain than your mind. How would you know if it was true? You wouldn't. You don't know everything that's possible. You are flawed. You could be wrong about what is possible. That's always possible.
According to what standard of possibility and wrongness?
Dude, just on the
but that's
fact
an
that you
implicit
don't know
presumption.
everything.
No,
As
no,
soon
but
as we
that's
admit that
according to
you as
someone
an
who does.
individual... No,
No,
it
but that's
isn't.
according.
Listen,
Yes,
as
it
soon as we
is.
admit...
Yes,
No,
it
it's
is.
not. It applies
Well,
universally to all subjects. As soon as we admit that we as subjects do not know everything, it becomes immediately relevant that
yeah.
whatever we do not know might invalidate everything we think we do.
No, but that statement implies that there is someone who does know everything how it is.
It does not do that. Explain.
Well, then what that statement? Then listen carefully. Then that statement implies that everything can't be knowable, and that means nothing is known.
Explain. Don't just make an assertion. Why don't you dissect my
I'm
statement out
explaining it.
loud? No,
Okay,
actually use
so
my words, mate.
Okay, so when you say, right, you could be wrong, you could be flawed, you don't know everything, which you did say, okay, right? This is implying it.
Just perform your own evaluation on it. Isn't it true?
No. No, but it's implicit assumption here when you make that claim. This is what I'm trying to draw out. When you claim that you could be wrong about everything, this is implying that someone does know everything and you're ignorant about that.
No, but
Because
let me
what
put
that
it
means,
doesn't imply that.
No, well, let me explain why it does imply it. Because either this everything that I'm unlimited about can be known, or it can't. And if it can't,
Pardon?
I don't know anything, and no one knows anything. And we'll get back in this skeptical trap again. And then you can't even claim against me. You can't even say we could be wrong because we're wrong about everything and we don't even know the ultimate reality.
That's
So
not
this
the
is
point.
what I mean.
The point is we can be... No, stop. Historically, we get closer and closer to what's right. We can observe that, right? When you think back on your life, you know for a fact that you make mistakes. You have made mistakes in the past. You could be making them now, and guess what? You probably wouldn't know it. And that is the point.
Yes, but this is all that comparison is all drawn into some perfect reality where there is no mistakes and where
No,
everything
it's
is known.
not.
Well, then what are you
It
comparing
goddamn
it to?
isn't. It's about...
What are you comparing it to?
I'm comparing it to no mistakes, which isn't an
Which is
ideal,
exactly what I just
perfect
said.
No.
Dude,
No mistakes in your cognition does not mean a
Equates
perfect
to-
reality. All the things that are wrong with this reality would still be around if you knew how to reason correctly.
No, but by definition, no mistakes in reality, perfect representation
No,
of
but
reality.
you don't
is
have to...
something
Dude.
mental
Okay,
failure.
let me put it to you this way. You have like memory limitations. You can't perfectly represent everything, but maybe you can perfectly represent the basis. And of course you agree because you already think you are. But goddamn it, listen to me. Maybe you are not. Maybe. Just maybe, man. Admit maybe you don't get it. It's always possible.
You understand the implicit presumption in that question. Hang on,
Dude,
man.
stop. No, listen. Stop the presuppositionalism. We're talking about epistemology, all right? You do not know for certain. Do you admit that?
According to who ultimately knows?
Pardon?
According to who?
Could you repeat that?
I don't know according to who.
According to you, do you know everything?
No, I don't. You're saying I don't know. I could be flawed.
Yeah, just answer my questions. Do you know everything?
On some level, we all know everything. That's what I believe.
No. I don't accept that. How do you know? You've made mistakes in the past. Why? Listen, why would you make mistakes in the past if you knew everything?
Well, that's the whole paradox of existence. How can reality be
No, I don't accept that. It's a paradox in your mind. Paradoxes are subjective perceptual objects.
Yeah, where does perceptual objects come from? Something
What, they
objective.
come from your mind, but your mind doesn't like self-exist. It is like a consequence of physics.
Well, where does physics come from?
Pardon?
Hello guys, what's up?
What's up, man?
I was thinking that we talked about how like subjects, right, can be determined by function, like in terms of where they're placed or parts of subjects. But I was thinking that in academia, subjects are placed based off of scope and history. That was my thought.
Okay, but why do we even assume we know?
But it's a little off topic.
It is off topic. I just wanted to say it.
Okay, that's okay. That's you were in the last conversation, weren't you, Dark Master?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. I
There you
did
go.
send you my worldview. Did you
Yeah,
get a
that was
look at
cool.
the framework?
Yeah, very interesting. We sort of doing something like I didn't understand all the terms in there, but I'll have to go back through it.
Because I think that I literally think that for a conversation like this, like it would really help. I really think it would help you understand where Matt and I are coming from if you understood how that's structured. Because we spent some time talking. In fact, we spent quite a bit of time talking about how we even get to logic.
I thought, well, all our beliefs, everything we think, just terminates at some axiom that is itself.
Yeah, but we don't have innate knowledge, and the thing is,
but
the
that's
thing
not
is-
proven. Wait a sec.
it doesn't have to be provable. That's my experience. Are you honestly telling me that you think you have innate knowledge at this moment? You can access all knowledge in the universe?
Yes, I think it's inside God.
Well, then, no,
Yes.
but how can you access it?
Being connected to Him in a fundamental way. I think
No, but
everyone
that's
is.
that's not, you don't have any evidence to support that conclusion is necessarily true, do you?
Well, I already gave. This is all. The evidence I would give is my argument I gave for this.
Yes,
position.
but that doesn't support the conclusion is necessarily true, epistemologically speaking.
Doesn't support it as necessarily true.
Exactly. It doesn't show that it is necessarily true. There's no demonstration of the factual nature of the claim. You are making a hypothesis.
No. But this depends on some ultimate model of reality, and who has this ultimate model?
No, I don't know where you're getting that from. You are making a hypothesis.
The flawed model or flawed thing. This is only according to the absolute model that is
No,
correct.
I don't accept that. You're getting that from nowhere.
Yeah, but what are you comparing it to then? My flawed understanding.
I'm comparing it to a better understanding than yours, which is not some absolute model. It's a flawed subjective model that's better than yours. Simple as that.
Comparing it to the truth, but you're not comparing it to the truth then.
I don't
If
care.
it's the
I'm
absolute-
comparing it to my best guess.
But then you can't flaw my argument.
Fucking bullshit. I'm doing it right now.
If you're not comparing it to an absolute model and absolute truth, and saying it's limited according to this absolute model where it is all true,
No,
then you
but
can't say.
I'm saying that insofar as I can subjectively propose it, I'm saying that subjectively I'm articulating a model which I believe to be absolutely true. And if you agree, then we both have come to a consensus about reality.
But it all comes down to this nature of absolute truth, right?
Mhm.
It's whether you think there is an absolute.
I do
truth.
think it is, but I don't accept this predicated on the mind, and I don't know how many times I have to say that.
Yeah, but we've already had this.
Yeah, but maybe
argument.
you're
We don't-
wrong. That's all I'm trying to say, man.
You're not understanding what he's saying.
I
I'm wrong
totally
about. It's saying
fucking
I'm wrong.
am. Why? Listen. Why would you have the audacity to tell me that I don't know what I'm saying you are wrong about? I goddamn do, man. I've been listening to you for a while.
No, because just seems when you say that, you don't know what you're rejecting.
Pretty sure I do. How do you get to make that claim? Do you see inside my head?
Hold on a second.
No, just referring from what you're saying. That's
Well,
all.
no, but I don't
Not
agree
being
that it follows
presumptuous.
from what I've said. Explain how it does.
Well, because what I'm saying is you ultimately reject the mind. You're rejecting your
That's
own
an assertion.
existence. That's what I'm saying.
That's
but
an assertion.
Do you deny you exist?
No, of course not. I don't deny I exist. You know I don't. Like, I don't understand why you're bringing up these ridiculous points.
They're not just directly related.
They're
to what I'm
not.
saying
You
about
are
the
saying these
self-existence.
nonsense things and trying to say that what I'm saying leads to these nonsense conclusions.
Well, okay. So I think part of the problem is you guys are sort of talking about like different things. So like for example, when you guys talk about existence, right? What NSYNC views as existence, right, is very different, I think, than what you would view as existence. So I think that NSYNC I haven't asked him this directly, but I would imagine NSYNC views existence sort of like almost like the amalgamation of well, okay, I would say he views existence as continuity of consciousness or something along those lines.
I wouldn't use consciousness. I'd
An
say
example.
continuity of nature.
Okay, fair enough. But I was gonna use the example of like the ship of Theseid.
That's how we subjectively exist. But I can see from existence as an objective phenomenon.
Yeah, you can see that it's unknowable and it's knowable by
It doesn't
subject.
have to be known with certainty. We can be deductively sure of it the same way you're deductively sure of your conclusion, and maybe you can be more sure of a different one.
Okay, but here's the thing. Let me just try and explain, because I know you think I'm assuming what you're saying, but what I feel is I don't think you're actually understanding what I'm saying.
But
So
dude,
I'll
you
try.
said that like 5 times. Isn't it possible that I do?
Hold on. Okay. That may be true in sync, but like let him just like finish for a second, please.
Because that's why you're getting frustrated. But I'm also getting frustrated because I feel like you're not actually understanding. When you deny it, what I'm saying is you're denying is an absurdity. That's what I'm trying to show. Because
Yeah, but like that's a supposition, man.
I don't know. But what I'm been arguing for. So let me just explain what I mean. So for example, just in the premise, the claim before, let me show you. There's the hidden premise here, right? The intuition about something absolutely true. When you say that my understanding could be limited, my model could be incomplete, this is only in comparison to some imagined absolute model of what reality is. If it's not, it's only a comparison to some relative truth, and in that case, you can't flaw my subjectivity unless you compare it to an absolute. So
What if I use criteria you agree to? Like, of course I fucking can. I get you. No, listen. I get you to agree to a couple of rules, dude. Just listen, okay?
Relative truth, or you're comparing it to some absolute model.
Listen. We can compare relative truths. It's easy. What we do is we agree. Can you just listen for a second?
Hold on, Death.
Okay.
Okay, we agree on a set of criteria that we use to evaluate them, right? And then we both reason about the things, the choices, the models, right? And we say, according to the criteria, this one is deductively superior to this one. And then we decide to use that model. And if that model fits all of the evidence, then and neither of us can figure out a way to say that it is wrong, it probably is not wrong, and we should use it and assume that it is true.
Okay, but is that absolutely true?
It doesn't have to be. It might be. That's the point. We're hoping it is. That's the goal.
If you don't have any truth that you can say is absolutely
we're setting up
all truths. Hang on, wait a second. If you don't have any truth that you can say is absolutely true, all truths can be contested and attacked.
That's not, but the point is,
you can't sit there and say this is absolute. No one can do it.
Listen,
no one can have a foundation.
You ready? Truth is a natural phenomenon, and it has a characteristic nature. And guess what? You can maybe describe it with language, and if you could, let's just say maybe you can, if you could describe the characteristic nature of truth in linguistic syntax and semantics, what you would find is that it would be irrefutable. You cannot argue with what is true. It is undeniable.
Hang on, but wait a minute. Let me just understand something. So you said truth is objective and natural thing, and if you could describe it with language,
then it would be irrefutable.
You just did
yes, and
you did describe it with language, so it's.
I think that.
So then it's absolutely true.
Yeah, I think the truth is absolutely true, but my propositions about it are always tainted by my subjectivity, so they are forever uncertain.
No, but on some level, you have to be connected.
Yeah, I am connected to what is absolutely true, as in I am an instantiation of it.
Then you need to know it on some innate level to be connected to it.
No, but I don't know it on an innate level, right? I have to... Listen, the presuppositions that I have correspond to what is actually true.
Sorry, what was that? Your suppositions correspond to what's actually true.
So do yours.
You know,
they're just not quite right, because when you articulate your presuppositional understanding, what you find is that articulating it reveals to you the flaws in your analysis that need fixing.
But why are flaws
Because
bad?
flaws mean that you are wrong about something, and being wrong about something means that you are going to encounter situations where you think that you know what's going on and you don't. And that won't be good for you.
Again,
Well, okay. I think the best way to put it is the problem with flaws is that they don't
Mhm.
align with truth.
Well, as
Why
I
is that?
said, because you
This is
walk into
assuming an
holes that you don't know are there.
This is okay, but when you say flaws are
Mhm.
bad, right? This is a hidden presumption in that statement that it's according to
No,
some
it
ultimate
isn't.
reality where
Listen,
there is no flaws.
I don't.
What
It's annoying,
according-
but I'm not going to object to the presuppositional approach, man. But what you can't do is you cannot use a fallacy of repetition to insist that what we're saying indicates that. We do not agree. How do you know for sure you're getting it right? We have to agree. It's one of Rapport's rules of argument, okay, that we have to agree on what you're saying we're saying. You can't tell us what it is and insist that you have it correctly. If the people who are saying it do not agree that you are getting them correctly, you have to try again.
Well, I mean, at the very least, like, I mean,
What I'm saying is
so
you know it correctly, but
Yeah, but that's not a good
that I can't
reason to
understand.
repeat the same thing. Come at it from a different angle.
But I think, and the reason you're denying it, no,
No,
but you
dude, maybe you're
coherently
making a
understand what you're
mistake. Come
denying.
at it from a different angle.
I can't use an angle outside of
Just
the existence
use
of
a
a
different
mind. I can't know it.
example.
I say you
You
can't
keep
know it either.
delivering the same line of reasoning. Come at it from
What
a different
example?
angle in reasoning.
Okay.
maybe it may help to maybe put this into an equation, I think, because then it would be way more like solid. Like I understand.
But you understand, maybe Dark Master, you understand when I say this claim that you have a flawed understanding or bad subjective representation. That's being drawn implicitly in contrast to some ultimate explanation of what it really is. So there's an implicit presumption that there is an absolute truth
No,
already that you
listen,
guys
it's
already
got nothing
agreed
to do with what we know. We're saying that it is our opinion that there is an absolute truth, and we don't have to know anything about it to be pretty sure that it's there. Well,
But
I
I don't think
don't
you can
think
have
that
an
you know
opinion
that for
about absolute
sure,
truth.
and
I
I'm
think you
gonna
know
have
it
one
innately.
anyway. And guess what? Seems like you're wrong because I've got one.
Well, the reason why is because
So okay, so I can elaborate. Hold on, I can elaborate, guys, on like what I think. And I mean, it is of course based off of like what I wrote, but I can elaborate off what I think briefly, and maybe that could be productive. But let me grab something first, if you folks don't mind, just because I want to grab a snack.
okay, yeah.
Snacks make facts. That is not
Can't
objective
argue
truth,
with it though.
but it is like true enough.
So one thing,
It's
maybe this is
instinct, man.
when it comes down to
Dude, it's
instinct.
instinct.
Okay, sorry, man. Yeah, sorry, man. That's all good. That's all good. So maybe so this gets down. Honestly, it gets down exactly to what Kant, Hume, and Hegel were all arguing about. It's whether this absolute truth that we're talking about can ultimately be outside the mind. Now, you can take two options here. I agree. You can take two options. You can say, okay, yeah, it is. It's outside the mind,
Mhm.
ultimately. And I think, personally, that makes it paradoxical, right? But I also accept that my position makes it
Okay,
paradoxical
but
as
here's the
well,
thing.
because then it would
Here's the
mean
thing.
absolute truth is connected to my subjective
Look, I understand.
representation of it. And I agree that I'm making a
Listen.
representation into an ultimate reality,
Okay,
but it's only a
but
representation.
listen.
So I agree.
I understand, right? And like ultimately, I think
So where do
that
you go from here?
like I just want you to admit that like since you have the other position, maybe when you're saying that my half is paradoxical as well, maybe you're wrong about that. You know what I mean? Like that's possible. And let's just think about like how does science progress? How have like we come up with the technology we're using to communicate right now? What we've done is we've modeled the world and we have like fucking very carefully picked out all of the contradictions in our understanding of the world and eradicated them and replaced them with a more consistent explanation. And the reason that we do that is that
Right.
inconsistencies don't correspond to truth. Like That's ultimately the fact of the matter. Consistency is the formula of truth. It's a characteristic of truth. Everything that we've ever developed that is true has been developed by making our models consistent with our observations. And there's nothing trivial about that correspondence.
Okay, but it's circularly. It's
It doesn't have
justified
to
in a
be
circular way.
justified to be admitted as very compelling. Do you get that? No, it doesn't.
No, it does.
It doesn't.
Because
I
it's
just
not
say
compelling.
nothing's justified, and guess what? I'm going to look at the evidence anyway. Can't I do that? Are you saying I'm not allowed?
Science is not
I don't
exactly like
agree.
philosophy, man. This whole
So
scientific
science is an instantiation of
the whole
philosophy.
scientific procedure you described. We had to start with our minds
Science
first
is
to
an
begin this
instantiation of
scientific process.
philosophy.
Yeah, but in order to start this whole search for consistent
Look,
truth,
you can't
in
just
science,
say the
we had
fucking
to start
premise
with the
again. It's so annoying. I don't. Stop
deny that we
saying
start
we
with
start with the mind. Those words are out of bounds, alright? Use other lines of reasoning. You can't fall back to that. We do not accept it. Do not say it again. No, it's not. You can't just assert that. Listen, if what you're saying is true, there will be other ways to say it. So no, listen. This one isn't working. Stop using this specific one. You can't say those words I said. Because I just told you we don't accept it.
Alright. Well, because it's not productive. But okay. Alright, I'm back. Can I talk about my how I view the world? Okay. Okay, so I start the first point in my worldview is abstraction, which is basically an admission that I don't fundamentally know anything. Not in the ultimate sense, and that I have to start somewhere. I make the analogy, right? Imagine a seemingly endless sea of conceptions where there is no solid foundation to build a home whose stability is sufficiently reliable to serve as a constant in our daily lives. On this sea, people compensate for the lack of foundation by using the water to build themselves a ship of ice. When this ship strays too far beyond the climate to which it is appropriate, it begins to deteriorate, and this occurs through melting. Sometimes people melt their own ship on purpose to reconstruct it so that they can travel more ubiquitously among the conceptual climates. So, yeah, it's just an admission that you start with an absence of foundation before you actually have a foundation. Right.
So how can an absence of a foundation give us the foundation?
Give us the foundation.
No foundation.
There is no foundation.
So it doesn't. That's why we're not at the foundation.
Then we have
yet.
no foundation. We don't know anything.
You're right. We don't.
Well,
That's
from my
the
point.
point.
Of view, that's complete darkness because you actually don't. There's no point in discussing philosophy or trying to get to truth or meaning because everything we're talking about is just an illusion.
It's
you
not
don't really know anything.
I would not agree with that analogy. It's not darkness, and it's I give the example. It's a sea of conceptions, right? So imagine a vast ocean where you have a bunch of ideas that are all
wait a sec. Wait a sec. You said it's a sea of conception. That's a conception. No, it can't be that. Because you're making it into something. You can't start with conceptions.
Well, so well, okay, but the analogy says conceptions, but really it's more just I'm having to use language to describe it, but it's not like an absence.
You're talking about nothingness. That's what you're talking about. So
No.
One sec. Stop. One sec.
No.
Could you maybe pop on push to talk?
Oh, sure, but I do want to finish my point if that's
okay. For sure. Yeah, just because it's recording.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
well,
go ahead.
What I was just gonna say is the reason why it's not nothing is because that would be saying what it is. or
Exactly,
like a lack of what it is, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying any of that.
Right, but let me just be clear so we can understand each other. So when you say we start with the absence of foundations, right? That's a claim. You can't start with that claim either.
Well,
Because it's a foundation.
okay. So what I mean is that so I want to be careful here, right?
Right.
I'm not claiming that there is no foundation beyond that. All I'm saying is that it's an admission that I don't have a foundation beyond my next point. See?
But then we have nothing. Then that's just. It might as well just call it nothing. We don't do anything.
Well, in the sense that we lack something or seem to lack something, then sure.
Okay. Well, see, how I view it is it's fundamentally irrational to proceed in discussions about let's get to truth, let's get thing, if we've already admitted from the very beginning that we don't know anything.
But so okay, but see the way I view it, right, is that I think that we are literally forced into that position from the get-go. And so because of that, and because we have to operate in the world in a pragmatic way, right? I'm not necessarily talking about pragmatism, but like we do have to operate in the world in a way where we function. It is to our benefit to construct something out of that lack of, or whatever else it could be.
But what grounds all that? A foundation?
Yeah, it's really to like our benefit to construct a foundation from like the abstraction.
But that's already a foundation. The idea that you need to construct a foundation.
I mean, it's a lack of foundation. I wouldn't say it's a foundation.
That's contradictory.
No. So like you have a foundation.
What he's saying is that the necessity of constructing a foundation for yourself means that there is a foundation external to you, but that seems to be the thing he's trying to deny, so I'm not sure what he's getting at.
So all I'm saying is right, the foundation is like, if the foundation is the starting point, right?
Well, but that's assuming a foundation.
Yes. Well, actually, it's presuming, but yes, correct.
But if it, but didn't you say isn't your thing defined as you can't start with any assumptions?
That you can't start with any assumptions. Well, I think
you.
So I think you start. I think you start with a presumption. I don't think you start with an assumption.
Well, I think there's some level we have to start with something that just is absolutely true. And the reason why I say that is because we don't start with it. We're admitting that everything that we say and do is based on something that isn't necessarily true. So it's based on something that isn't really truth. So what happens then is this whole discussion of let's try and be more true and consistent. Let's update our world models to match reality. I don't see any logic behind doing any of that if we've already admitted from the very beginning that everything we stand on has no foundation.
Just quickly.
In sync. I just want to say that. So, I think that it makes sense because like we want to function in the world that we live in, and I think that the reason we do it is because we're forced. And I think that if I were to say that there is like something beyond that, I think it would be dishonest of me.
First of all, I think we need to be careful that we don't equivocate between two different types of starting with, right? Like when you say like we start with something that's absolutely true, what do you mean exactly? Do you mean that in our reasoning we start with something that's absolutely true, or do you mean that in order to reason there must be something to begin with that is absolutely true? Do you mean both?
Who, me or Dark Master?
I'm talking to you.
Oh, sorry. So, okay. I mean both.
Okay, but how do you know that it is necessarily both? Couldn't it just be the latter? Is that possible?
The latter as in something that's not necessarily the case?
No.
Is that what you mean?
As in just like thinking that there is something that is necessarily true.
Thinking, as in, do you mean thinking that there isn't something that's...
Thinking that there is.
Thinking that there is. So I could have a false impression. I'm thinking that there is, but there isn't really. Is that what you mean?
No. I'm saying
Well,
like,
sorry, I don't understand.
all right. So
Put it in an equation,
Sorry.
maybe that might help.
Sorry, I don't know exactly. What do you mean? Like, I think there's a real ultimate reality, but I could be mistaken about it. Is that what you
no,
mean?
I'm saying like you think that there is an ultimate reality, and I agree with you, but we disagree about the details, and maybe you're wrong because you're saying I'm wrong. It's also possible that you're wrong and you don't know it. That's a fucking fact.
But then it needs my mind to know it.
It's just goddamn possible, man. Listen, it is possible.
But hang on, man. You don't understand the
I
hidden
do.
premises in your argument. What is the hidden premise? Can you please tell me it again?
The hidden
I've explained
premise
it
is
to
that
you. You
there
know
is
what it
something
is.
apart from what you
Yes.
evaluate to be true that is true.
Some absolute,
But
some
that's what I
absolute
believe.
truth.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
what I
yes, but
believe. And you
then
don't
if
have any
we put
evidence
it
that there
outside,
isn't.
yes, but hang on, I don't deny it. But I'm saying we can't put it outside of the mind.
Says
Otherwise, we
fucking
can't ever know
who?
it.
Are you
Because we
God? Are
can't
you
know
an
it. We're not
ultimate
talking
arbiter?
about anything.
No,
We're
that's
not
your
talking about anything.
That is your evaluation. You are not a God. You could be wrong.
According to God, I'm not a God. You're comparing me to God. You're
No.
assuming God exists. Yes,
Oh
you
my
are.
God. Hey,
You
so
are, dude.
just quickly, Dark Master.
You are.
Do you understand why he said, according to God, I'm not a God? Does that follow for you?
No, because you're comparing my limited understanding with someone who does have
No,
the
I'm
ultimate
saying that
understanding. You're assuming
I'm saying that I'm not assuming that he exists. I'm saying I can.
How are you
Shush
drawing
for
the
a sec.
comparison?
I'm saying I can
Okay.
conceptualize something which does not necessarily exist, which is an ideal thing. Okay, it does not necessarily exist, but I can conceptualize it, and I can compare you to the idealized conception. Simple as that.
Yeah, but you're not comparing me to something that's absolutely true. So you
I
can't
am. I'm
refute me.
comparing you to as best I can describe what's
No,
absolutely
because
true.
you're not comparing me to absolute truth,
doing
so
my
you can't stand there and say I'm wrong.
But okay. First of all, so like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand instinct insofar as I do, but
But listen to the hidden premise. There's hidden premises in that claim that need to be understood before you can understand the weight of it. When you say you're comparing a subjective,
I
limited
told you. Listen,
understanding,
I told you. You asked me what the hidden premises were, and I told you. What makes you think I don't understand them?
because you're assuming the
Is
existence
it
of
that, no,
God
no,
to
stop.
compare me to
I'm
him
not
to say.
assuming that he exists. I'm assuming that my conceptualization of him exists.
Then you just comparing me to some flawed relative opinion of your
So,
representation,
maybe
not comparing me to absolute truth. Then you
God.
can't refute me because you're just comparing me to something that's not absolutely true.
Maybe my flawed relative opinion is my best attempt to describe absolute truth. Have you ever considered that?
Yes, but you don't understand that making this all our best attempt, it puts everything at risk.
I don't
We
fucking
can't stand on
care.
anything.
You might think that it puts us at
But
risk.
then we have
Some of
nothing.
us,
We have nothing.
Some of us
okay.
are comfortable.
Without absolute truth, we only have
Dude.
darkness and nihilism.
Okay. Wait a minute, please, wait. I want to. There's an important point I want to make. So, what I think, right, is that like, I consider it right that I am not satisfied. I'm really not satisfied with like making my best attempt because I want to have it be like the best attempt. That said, right, I can only go off of what I have. And if I don't have anything else, then I am put in a position where I'm literally forced to just use the stuff around me.
Compared to what? Have limited understanding, yeah? Okay, this is only compared to what? You can't just say we have limited understanding. A primitive. You're comparing it to something.
I don't think you listen to him, man.
No. But no. I'm just no. I heard what he said, but I'm just rephrasing this whole
Well,
point
like,
about.
can you rephrase what he said?
He said about I can only go off what I have, and I don't want to make my best. I want it to be my best attempt, not just a best guess. But I can only go off what.
No. That's not what he said. He
Dark
said
Master.
that he wishes he could do better than just his best guess, but at the same time, he can only use what he has. Do you understand the significance of the second part of the statement?
This is a yes, I do. But
What
do you
what is the
understand
significance?
of the implicit
What's the
comparison
significance?
being made?
What's the
Because he's saying,
significance?
I can only use what I have,
Yes, what's the
right?
significance?
The significance of that is
Well,
implying
what?
someone all.
No, tell me what the significance is.
Hold on. Okay, so wait a minute, Death. The second part. Could you tell me what you think the significance of that is?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
So I can only go off of what I have. Like what is the significance of
Then
that?
what do you have?
So I have my best attempt.
The best
The
attempt
best
at what?
attempt at what?
Understanding what's around me.
Do you think there's an
Do you think there's an
ultimate
ultimate way
of understanding?
I think. I mean, I'm not sure in like the ultimate sense, but I think that there may be.
Well, so
Actually,
this is what
I'm
Sorry.
not even totally sure I would go that far, but I'm gonna act like I do.
Well,
well, listen,
we say there is an ultimate, there is an absolute truth, there is an eternal truth that we know. The only thing that follows, we don't know objective truth, and all that we are is left with just best guesses and probability estimates, and every claim can be contested and attacked, and no one stands on the grounds of absolute truth. And it's all
Sure, but relative, there are things that we function with that are much better than others, right? So if somebody comes to me,
If you admit relative truth in the beginning, you don't even
wait, I'm sorry, man, you cut out.
Oh, I said, but then you don't know that, because if you admit relative truth, absolute relative truth in the beginning, everything you just say to try and justify relative truth is only relatively true. It's not absolutely true.
But let me just ask this, right? So what if I don't need that to function, because like there's all this other stuff that like impacts me and like makes it so that, okay, well, I mean, I'm gonna like actually act as if like I have a really good like understanding of it, but you know, I mean, I may not have the ultimate understanding, and
You just have faith in the absurd, even.
But dude, I don't think that that's how like people function in the world that we live in, and I mean, see, okay, I just want to say this, right? Let's actually go to the darkness example. Maybe this might be productive. So if we go to the darkness example that you gave, right, the absence of like everything, correct?
Right, but I think it's paradox about it.
Oh, no, I understand. Okay, I understand you don't accept that, but like that's what you view it as, correct?
Right?
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat, please?
Okay, so when you say we'll go to the nothingness, right? I do accept the nothingness, but in a way, paradox, because every time you talk about nothing, you turn it into something. You see? So even the very definition of nothing is paradoxical, because it's defining it.
No, I mean, I don't. Well, okay, so
I accept that. That's like my fundamental thesis. But the point is that it doesn't lead to the conclusion you think it does.
What's the conclusion?
You think the conclusion that leads to is the necessary existence of the mind. I don't agree.
Out of reality, out of nothing.
No, I don't agree with you.
Wait, in sync. I'm sorry, man. I just don't want to get off track here. So like, okay, so let's go to where the fuck is that channel? Yeah, Tavern Text Chat, right? I don't. So okay, I don't like care about arguing for like I don't care about arguing against the darkness example, because I actually want to suggest that it may in fact not be a good example to begin with. So okay, so you have lack of stuff, right? And like, do you accept that death as like being legitimate, right?
Oh, I do. I already said I.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I don't want to misrepresent you. So
yeah, no.
Death.
So what I'm saying is the mind has to go out of the mind. I have something like. Yeah, I agree. Paradoxical. Talk about it. You define it and bring it into existence. Otherwise, when the mind speaks of nothingness, it brings it into the mind and makes it.
But that's like refuting it. I'm not talking about that, and I don't want to talk about that right now.
Oh, okay. All right. But I'm saying you have to start there.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, like, I understand, like, in your worldview of that, but that's like not how I like view that, and so I wanna, I like,
Clarify then.
like I don't accept. I don't accept the darkness example as something that I view, and I want to address that, right?
Okay.
Like, okay, so you're okay with, like, the way I represented like your example in the tavern text chat, correct?
In the tavern text chat. Okay, hold on a second. Death equals lack of stuff. Not necessarily. What I would mean the lack of stuff is simply the absence of information or the absence of the mind, really. I don't necessarily. It depends on how you define death. No, I would just say it's just more the absence of everything at all.
Oh, no. I put death there just to indicate yours. Like, that's what you think.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, just the lack of anything. Yes, I would agree with that. But this is paradoxical. Again, beginning.
But we're not talking about that. Like, we're just determining if that's what you think it is. Okay. So what I would say. Yeah, so this is the distinction I would draw, right? I would, so...
Now this guy says, Mr. Batman's arguments are very similar, except, you could actually challenge him and get him to admit that God creates himself out of himself. You know what I mean? And then, but I'm not sure if you could show how that's kind of absurd, but then you'd have to accept that at some point. Mr. Batman.
I mean, I've never talked to Mr. Batman. I also, no offense to him, I just don't care what he thinks.
Like he's decent in debate, even though he does just preach. I feel like he does just preach. I would agree with his argument. I think again, it's the exact same thing I'm saying about the universal laws of logic, which are the rules of the mind, and whether they apply.
Hold on. I want to stay focused on this because, like, if we start talking about other stuff, we're gonna get off track.
Mr. Batman. Mr. Batman's he's good. He's not too bad.
Dude, Mr. Batman is a joke.
I did talk to him for a bit, man, and he was pretty horrible. He said I wasn't a real believer. I don't believe in God, and I ignored him. I muted him. But his argument is not too bad. But even though I don't think he's.
I mean, of course you would think that, since you are also a presuppositionalist.
Well, I think everyone is. Everyone just presumes something from the very beginning.
Yeah. That is presuppositionally, like, instantiating that.
Guys, we're not gonna get off track here. Please, dear God, let's not get off track here.
Yeah. Go back to what you were.
So I think I'll post that for now and say that, like, that's my understanding, but you have to understand, and right, this is extremely important. What I posted is something that comes before logic, so that you can't use logic as a tool to understand what I posted in the same way that you can't use logic as a tool to understand what I posted. Because this is before, like to truly understand. I mean, you can go back and look at it in retrospect with that, but I like to have it to understand, like, why it's a starting position. You have to, like, ditch logic for the time being.
Right, but then you have to bring logic back in again. making sense of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that like
Otherwise,
you
just-
create a lead to logic, but I don't want to get into that just yet. I just want to focus like on this thing itself, right? So like my contention with what you said, right, is when you say lack of stuff, right? I'm not like if we're at that point, right, the sea of conception, what if there's something that isn't something or is something, like it's maybe say a third option?
Well, I think the only thing is right? Nothing is paradoxical. You can say many things about it, but it's not anything. You know what I mean? From the very complete.
No, but I'm saying, right, so like you have a choice between, say, like something not being a thing, right?
Mm.
And like it being a thing, and I'm saying that, like, what if there's like another option, right? A third option that we're not considering.
So between being and not
Always
being,
possible.
is that what you mean?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Death?
So between being and not being, there's a third option. Is that what you mean?
I'm saying that what if there is?
Yeah. So you say. You're saying what there is about. You say between a different option between something being the case and something not being the case. Is that
So I'm not claiming that there is that. I'm just saying that, like, what if there is something that we don't know about? What if there's something we don't know about? What if there's something we don't know about that's outside of the being or not being?
Okay, but then if it can't ever be known, it's irrelevant. You might as well not even talk about it.
Okay, so quickly, like, let's think about the problem of induction. Do you know that nature is continuous in the terms of like certain knowledge?
I can only derive from my mind.
Well, wait a minute.
How?
Wait a minute. I don't want
Induction.
to wait, because I want to actually follow this like line of thought. So you said that it's irrelevant, right? But what if we don't know that?
But then we're not talking about anything, because if we define something by definition to be completely outside of anything we could ever conceive, talk about, know, perceive, conceptualize, or imagine, this is the same as defining nothing. Now, if you want to say nothing is paradoxical,
But we're not even saying that. We're just saying
Well,
that,
I'm
like, what if
saying
there is a
that.
third option? Okay, that's fine.
what
But
I'm saying,
like, I'm saying that.
with our minds. Otherwise, we're not talking about anything.
I mean, that's just you returning to your premise again, man.
But I'm saying denial of this premise is irrational, because you guys know that
It's ridiculous to just assert that. You look foolish.
No, it's foolish to deny that we can know something outside of the mind, because it has to conform to the mind to know it by definition. Like, I'm not saying anything crazy or controversial. It's just
In your
straightforward.
opinion, right?
No, but I think to deny this is irrational, because you're saying it's something non-mental.
That's an egotistical thing to say.
No, it's not.
Wait a minute. So I just want to continue with like this. I want to continue with this particular line of thought. So if we are like talking about a third option, right? If we're talking about a third option,
I'm giving you that. Yes. Talk about it as a third option. It's represented under the category option. So it's making it mental.
Hey, dude, Deathspell, can you like go into your mic settings and turn off automatically determine mic sensitivity and adjust it a bit, because you drop out when your voice goes quiet.
Okay. Where's that? Voice and video?
Yeah, it'd be in voice and audio or something. I don't know, something like that.
I can turn down my sensitivity, maybe.
Yeah, like make your mic more sensitive and turn off automatically determine sensitivity.
That option isn't even on, but yeah, okay. I've turned down my. Is it better now?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's
okay. So what I was gonna say is, like, my contention with what you said, Death, is that like you're using logic to determine that, and I'm talking about what comes before logic.
And I'm saying, okay, I know what you mean, but I'm saying every time we talk about it, we make it logical, because we're making our minds represent it. Do you see what I mean? So even when you say, just to be very clear, when you say there's this third option, right? And it's not, it can't be, it's outside of what we can represent with some sort of method.
But what if, okay, but think about this, for example, what if, right, what if we can understand it, but we just can't use logic to understand it?
But I think we're doing that.
I understand, but I'm saying like because I get what you mean when you talk about like the language like bringing in the logic inherently, but like what if there is a way to understand that outside of it, and we're just using the language to talk about it for now?
But I think it's just, well, it's just irrelevant unless we can talk about it or represent it in some way. Otherwise, you got to understand what we're talking about. We're talking about nothingness, right? But every time we talk, again, this comes back to the paradox. What this all drives.
Well, it is a lot. Like, okay, it's outside of logic, so it like so the
but
logic.
it's a paradox about nothingness, right? If it's outside of logic, outside the mind, the only way we can represent it is Kant said as nothingness, right? But then where you go a step further, say, well, okay, but when we talk about nothingness, we're defining nothingness as no thing. However, we're defining it as no thing, which is to define it as something. So nothing becomes this kind of paradox where every time we talk about it, say, what if it's a third option outside of everything? We bring it into existence and we make it intelligible through our mind. So we're trying to make something that's ultimate.
But I'm not even like suggesting that we do make it intelligible. All I'm saying is that like we suggest that there could be like a gap in our understanding, and maybe that there is a way to understand that gap, but we just we don't know.
Yeah, but whatever the gap's going to be, it's either the mind can form a representation of it, or perceive it, or it can't be known. And I don't think that's so.
I like what if there's something else besides the mind that we could use to understand it?
It has to conform to the mind.
Does it?
Well, how can we talk about it? I'm not saying anything crazy. This seems very straightforward.
Yeah, I'm sure it does seem intuitive to you, my dude.
About the mind. Why doesn't it seem intuitive? Explain to me. How can something be outside the mind, but we talk about it?
Dude, I don't need to explain it to you. Listen carefully. I do not agree, so maybe your intuition is wrong. It doesn't get more simple than that. No, just listen. I'm telling you, okay? From everything I've ever learned, if people don't agree, it indicates that one or both of them does not understand, and there is no definitive way to know which one.
Then we all stuck with truth is relativism. There is no absolute truth.
It's subjectively articulated, for sure, but that doesn't make truth itself relative, right? Subjective truth is relativistic, but objective truth, which is the thing that we're trying to model with our subjective articulations about truth, is objective, and it's absolute, as we've agreed, and there are necessary truths. I just don't agree that you have the set of necessary truths correct. No, but I don't agree with you. I'm saying you maybe have it wrong, and you keep failing to admit that.
Well, I want to just add, Death. I think in sync. Death. I think in sync is also saying that like he doesn't accept that like when you think of like God giving you that like that ultimate truth, he's saying like he's saying he doesn't accept that either, because he puts that in with you.
Okay, well,
he thinks that's a component of you.
Yeah, but I think it's what do you mean by that? He thinks it's a component of my character, of my psychology.
Yeah, your psychology.
It is what sustains my psychology, but that's what I have to have faith in.
I mean, you don't have to, though. No. I don't. Here I am, chuffing along.
Axioms in assuming. You see what I mean?
No, dude, I don't see what you mean. Do you understand that?
Well, but that's not. Why is that necessarily my fault?
Well, because I'm not saying it's necessarily your fault, but listen, it's not necessarily my fault, is it?
Well, I disagree. I think you're not comprehending.
No, but it's not necessarily my fault. Come on, just take the ego down a notch. Just say it's not necessarily my fault. You don't know for sure. Maybe you're making mistakes too.
Is truth absolute?
Fuck, dude, it's absolute. Obviously, objective truth is absolute. Subjective truth is relativistic. Now, admit. Listen. Don't redirect. Okay, do me a favor. Okay, You might be wrong, yes or no? In general.
And if
Yes,
I'm wrong, you're
maybe.
wrong at the
In
same
general,
time.
you might be wrong, yes or no? Just in
About
general,
whether
in
there's an
general,
ultimate
about
reality.
anything,
That's
anything.
No, it's a very specific thing
Dude,
about that
stop
encapsulates everything.
trying to
The existence of
redirect.
absolute.
Answer my question. You are. You're not answering my
It's about
question.
very something
I said yes or
specific
no,
with
and you didn't give me a yes or a no. I said yes or
about
no.
absolute
Pardon?
truth. No.
Can you
Can't
say
be
that
wrong
again?
about
Sorry.
absolute truth. No. It's eternal. You can't be wrong
Oh,
about
the first
absolute
part of your
truth. It's
statement keeps
eternal.
getting cut off. Speak more into the mic.
I said you can't be wrong
No,
about
but
absolute
like,
truth. No,
let's
it's
separate
eternal.
that, right? We may agree that absolute truth cannot be wrong, and that effectively speaking, in a pragmatic sense, you cannot be wrong about the existence of absolute truth. But you can absolutely be wrong about what is absolutely true. Humans are wrong about that all the goddamn time.
Yes, but that's different from saying where the
No, but
absolute the
listen,
conditions of knowing
you're
the
giving
absolute
me
truth and the
your
conditions to know
opinion
the
on
absolute
what the conditions to know it are. Huh?
truth.
I'm not saying
Then you're just
my
giving me your
opinion is
opinion. Who's
true.
true?
I'm saying there
There
is
is no
some
truth.
correct. Listen. There is some correct opinion
Convince me then.
that neither of us know about.
Convince
It lines up completely with what actually
me.
is.
Disagree.
No,
No, I
that
disagree. A
is your
mind knows it
supposition.
ultimately, otherwise it can't be known. That's my stance. That's my stance.
Yeah, I know you
Well,
accept it
I accept
absolutely,
it
but the point is
absolutely,
maybe you're
and it's my
wrong. That's
faith.
the whole fucking point of faith, isn't it? You accept it. Listen. How about we look up the
According
word
to what
faith?
standard of wrong?
Let's look up the
According to
word
what
faith, because I
standard of
happen to know what faith means. Do you? What does faith mean?
It depends on how you define
No,
it.
it doesn't. What does faith mean in the dictionary? Tell me.
Depends on how you define it. I believe I have.
No, look it up. Look it up in the dictionary right now.
No, it depends on how you
Google
define
it.
it.
Google it. Look it up in the dictionary. Tell me what the definition is
Because
in
these
a
words are
dictionary
developed
right now.
according. Dude, are dictionary definitions
That's
the
irrelevant.
absolute
Please do
definitions
as
of
you're
words, or
asked.
do the development of words change over
It is
time?
irrelevant. Please
Or
do as you're asked. You
No, it's
can't
not
just be obstinate,
irrelevant
okay?
because you're
Try
trying
to
to use it.
cooperate.
No,
Cooperate.
no, don't just say it's irrelevant.
Cooperate.
No, don't
Cooperate.
irrelevant and insist it's
Give me
irrelevant.
the benefit of the
An
doubt.
argument as to why the
You don't
definition.
necessarily get to decide what's relevant. Give me the benefit of the doubt and look
Now,
up the fucking definition for me.
according to who does this?
Oh, dude, fucking hell.
I don't get to decide according to
No,
who.
because you're making the argument a fucking shit show. Like, how am I supposed to like
Accept
talk
absolute
to you
truth,
when
man.
you
God
just refuse to respond to questions you're asked?
This is how philosophy works.
You don't
Then
respond
you
to
wouldn't
questions
do
you're
it with
asked.
Socrates, would you? You wouldn't do it with Socrates.
That's your opinion.
No, because
You
the questions
still
are presupposing arguments
If that's
already
the
that have been.
case, then you should be able to demonstrate
No, it's
that
what you're
by
about to do.
answering the fucking questions. Yeah. You should be able to demonstrate it to me
By
deductively,
looking up the
working with
dictionary
what
definition.
I've
This is what
got.
the definition is. So therefore, no,
You are supposed to be able to work
incompatible with
with
certainty. I
what
reject
I've
that
got
definition.
to show
Again,
me that I'm wrong. That's the idea. No, you haven't. So what's the dictionary definition of faith?
I've already tried, man. You can't see it.
Read to me the dictionary definition of faith.
You don't understand.
Especially?
Complete trust or confidence in someone
I
or
know what it
something, or
is. There's
strong
an
belief.
especially. Okay, well, what side are you looking at? Can you send us a picture of it?
Yeah, no, I can't see an especially.
So, yeah, Google. There's an especially in faith. I'm sure of it.
Just Google.
Let's have a look.
Doctrine based on spiritual
Define
conviction.
faith. Alright.
No, I can't see an especially. See, I just like to cut to the chase because I already know where this argument's heading ahead of time before you go there. So I'm trying to skip ahead and get to the relevant part. The part where you say then what? Then it's not
No,
based
I
on
won't
proof.
say
Then I
just
just
because.
say,
How do
what
you? Why
justifies
do you get
proof?
to
And you
say
just
what
say,
I'm
oh,
going to
just
say in the
because,
future
and it
without
just
letting
ends
me
up in
get
this.
there? That doesn't feel fair. No, listen, that doesn't feel like a fair strategy. You're telling me what I'm going to think. You don't know
No.
that. No,
Okay,
stop,
so
stop, stop.
no, I'm telling you the only. If you're a rational guy, which you are,
I
telling you
feel
the only
so
answer. Hang on a
condescended
second.
by the way
I'm
you
telling you the
conduct your
only answer
argument,
you
man. You
can give to certain
insist
questions.
that
I'm not going to say
everybody
the
who
only
doesn't agree with you isn't rational implicitly. Yeah, but maybe you're wrong. God damn it, just
because I
admit
think
it.
they
It's
already
so
agree with me,
fucking.
but they're denying it.
Listen, I'm slamming my head against the wall.
I'm not wrong about God's existence. The vast majority of humanity is not wrong.
Well, I mean, it's honestly sort of moot in a sense, right? I mean, you can show like different ways you go about forming this, but like, I mean, if you do have a presupposition where you don't allot for abstraction, then I do think you are starting out at a point where like it's like alternative perspectives can't really like they just can't exist in a sense. I mean, I don't think it's consistent with reality, but I do think like starting from there, you could build a model where like it's just like you can't really say much else. There's just nothing to say.
Well, look, everyone's forming their beliefs based on some presupposition that's not necessarily proven. I just want to cut this out and say that we do know some presupposition that's necessary, so you guys can
No,
disagree with me.
but
That's
listen,
fine.
I
Don't
agree
think it's
with you,
rational
but
to.
maybe
That's
you're wrong
fine. You don't
about
have to
what
accept my
those
thing. I
are.
think I'll explain it in a comprehensive way.
No, you're not listening.
No.
You're not listening to me.
Whatever I'm wrong about, because what I'm claiming I'm wrong
Fuck,
about,
I agree
can't be
with
wrong
you
about,
in the
is that the
general sense
presupposition is
that the
there, it's
presupposition
internal.
is there. Listen to me very carefully. We agree. Everything up until the detail, and maybe you're wrong about the detail because you can't know either. The detail is that you think that the necessary action is a universal mind, an absolute mind. Maybe you're wrong. Ah, fuck.
The necessary
I've
truth.
heard it. You're saying the same thing again. The necessary truth is that the truth is predicated on the perception. It's the same thing again.
There, but if you make it completely outside the mind,
Says who?
yes, but if you make it completely outside
No,
the
that's
mind,
your
it can't be
opinion.
known. The mind, with its own rule.
My opinion differs to yours, so maybe
we have
one of us is
according to
wrong, and it's
whose
not
truth?
necessarily me. You don't know that for sure.
It's all relative. It's just your opinion.
God, with your own standard of wrong, you do not know for sure that I
Surely
am.
whose standard of wrong? It's just all opinion.
No, I fucking don't. You don't even listen, man.
You have to make God the ultimate
Say these
standard.
things that are
Otherwise, you just have
completely
relative.
disconnected with what we're saying. You bring up God. I never said anything about God. You're pulling shit out your ass. Fuck off. Absolute truth isn't God.
No, because you either have absolute truth or you have relative
Yes,
truth.
it fucking can. It can be something else. Don't bring your religious presuppositions
can't be anything
into an
else. It's
argument with an
eternal,
atheist and
absolute truth.
expect them to accept them. No, I don't agree. That's not necessarily true. That's your goddamn
People understand
opinion.
absolute truth better than atheists. They know the absolute truth.
I believe in the transcendent. Listen to me. I believe in the transcendent.
Humans know
But
God's there. They've
the
always believed
transcendent
in
is
Him,
not
man. There's no
God,
point
and
running.
you are foolish to suppose that you are necessarily correct about the nature and characteristics of the transcendent. People are foolish creatures. Of course I might be. I might be the foolish one, but guess what? Here's a marker. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Here is a marker for not being foolish. Admitting that you might be the one who is being foolish is a marker for not being foolish. Goddamn wrong. You could be because you're a foolish creature. Just like me.
But I can't be foolish about the absolute.
Listen, let's just examine your argument. You're saying, listen, let's examine your argument. You're saying you can't be wrong about the necessary actions of reality, but you're saying I am wrong about that very fucking topic. How am I wrong? How am I wrong? By what standard? Are you compared to God?
No, I'm saying you do know God exists, but you just redefine. No, I'm saying,
Maybe he's not.
no.
How do you
Listen,
know?
don't put words into my mouth. I'm saying you do know
Are
God exists,
you
but you're
God?
trying to redefine him away. So he's not a mind. He's not
Are
a
you
he's not a
God?
being. You're trying to change the definition of God because that's what you're doing. You're changing of the absolute that's been and you're making
Maybe
it
that's
something that's not
true.
God. You're saying, well, this
Maybe that's
absolute,
fucking
it's all
true. Are you
powerful, it's
omniscient? Do
everywhere,
you
it's
know everything?
transcendent,
Can
but
you
it's
tell
not
me
God. So
for a
you're just
fact that
going
it isn't
against God.
true?
But
Can you? Can you? No, you are. You're fucking corrupting the definition of absolute with
definition of
your
the word
religious
absolute
beliefs.
is
Look
something
up absolute and tell me what it means. Look
and
it up. Use the
for-
dictionary again. Look it up in the dictionary and tell me how it Listen. Just do what you're told. Look it up in the dictionary and
what do
tell
you
me
mean?
how it follows from the definition that you think, what you think is true. How that follows from the definition. Show me it that it does. It's pretty easy. It's not unconditioned. That's not what absolute means. Wait, no, stop for a
Absolute as a
second.
concept, it's transcendent, it's
Stop.
unconditioned, it's ultimate. That's what God is.
It's
Everyone already knows that.
unconditioned.
Religious people.
Show me. When you say unconditioned, what do you
Let's
mean?
go with the
When you say
dictionary
unconditioned,
definition
what do you
then.
mean?
There's that in there as well. So come on,
Listen,
man, don't
no,
play these games
I
with
agree
me.
it's
Don't
eternal.
play
Is
these
it
games with
infinite?
me. Don't play.
No, I don't agree with
It
that.
has no limit. It's eternal. God.
Oh, do not fucking tell me that I'm
Yes.
blaspheming. Did you just say that?
Okay, well then what you're doing there, I'm trying to tell you you're blaspheming because what you're
Yeah,
doing
but
is
maybe
taking a
the religious
well-known,
people had intuitions of the Listen,
yeah, but
maybe
you're
it's
taking a
possible.
well-understood definition of the absolute that religious people created and built in the first place.
Dude, I'm not a nihilist.
And
Yeah,
you're turning
I'm
it
not
into
contradicting
something
myself.
that's not
Just because
God.
you don't
You're a
understand how that
nihilist.
can be
You're an
possible
atheist.
doesn't mean that it isn't.
I believe in the transcendent,
How
but
the
I'm an
fuck do you
atheist.
know?
You're just contradicting yourself.
How the fuck
Rational.
do you know? No, that's your opinion.
You don't understand the absolute. You're defining it in your own.
According to me, that is your opinion. According to
Because
me.
the absolute is God. Because God is.
Yes. No, but I don't agree that
Oh,
the
it's my
absolute is
opinion. According
equivalent
to
to
who?
God. How do you
The
not
absolute?
understand that? Maybe you're goddamn wrong. How do you
The absolute
fucking
is the absolute. He's
categorically refuse
eternal
to
God
deny it?
forever.
It's
The eternal
laughable. Oh, Listen, maybe religious people have intuitions of a transcendent which is there, but articulated it
Because
incorrectly. Isn't
religious
that
people
possible?
know God's there. They're not wrong about him. He lets us.
Yep, I do. Isn't it possible? Dude, okay?
Even
Stop
understand their
talking for a second. I want
articulations.
you to try. Just take 10 seconds, don't speak, switch on your ears.
Absolute,
Try
transcendent, and
really hard to
eternal.
listen to what
You
I'm saying,
understand?
okay? Stop talking. Stop talking for 10 seconds, just so you can focus on listening, please. Thank you.
You can't comprehend what I'm saying.
Maybe religious people had like intuitions of a transcendent that was there. So they had ideas about something which was there because it was there, and their ideas were pretty close. They were like describing it, but they were pretty primitive people. They didn't know much about the world, and the language they used was primitive. And so when they described it, they used the best words that they have, and maybe today there are better ones. Isn't it possible? Oh, fuck. GG. That's it. You said no. You said I'm not. It's not one. I'm not
No,
saying
because
I've
all the
won. I'm saying
words
it's
like absolute
over.
and
If you're gonna
unlimited,
say no to that, we
unconditional,
can't argue. If you're
I'm
gonna
just
say
saying,
no, I could not be wrong.
GG, man. You
Dude,
haven't won any
no
argument.
one
This is
will
what you
ever
always
be
do.
able to convince you of anything. Ah, fuck. He's historically been defined. Listen to me. He's historically been defined as
Literature of how God has
creative
even been
agency,
historically defined. Go and
omnipotent,
tell me then. How has he been
omniscient,
historically
and
defined?
omnipresent.
You already
Right?
know.
The cause and
Just people's
source of being. Should I go on? Am I wrong? No. No, absolute means something different. Absolute is a technical term. It has a technical presence in our sciences. You are incorrect.
many
Infinity
different
does not
ways of
have a
saying the
technical
same thing.
instantiation.
Reality.
Listen, excuse me. Cause does have a technical version. Infinity cannot.
You don't think cause and infinity can have technical terms?
Absolute does.
I think
Absolute is something in logic.
If words can have technical terms as well. Come on.
No, infinity can't. The others can.
An absolute can't have a technical.
Because
it's just natural.
It's the thing that you were saying
But
about
infinity,
nothingness, my
eternal,
dude.
none of
Because
these
what
things can have
infinity
technical
means
language.
is, listen, what infinity means is without limitation or boundary.
Can't infinity,
And if
it's
you
well
were to
defined.
define
In
it,
naive
you
sense,
would be defining its boundaries, and that is not possible. It's contradictory. It's a paradox. No, we didn't. No, you think you did. You're flawed. Jesus. You're a flawed subject, man. You may think you did it. Maybe you think you did it.
You just did it.
You are.
I already said this. I already agreed to
Yeah, but
saying
maybe
you don't
think
agree
you did it and
and
you're
I
wrong.
already a position I fundamentally already agreed with. And I support it. You don't
Man, I just
keep
can't.
saying I'm a
You're wearing me out.
and arguments. I already agreed to that. I already said that.
Oh, why would you jump to that assumption?
Exactly how God works. You speak him into
What'd you say, sorry?
truly by existing. That's what he is. He's infinite.
Alright, man. I'll catch you later.
You're wearing me out, Megs. You can't comprehend what I'm
Have a
saying.
good one, man.
Anyway, I've got to go. Okay. Look, GG. All right. It's been I said GG. It's been a good discussion, but I have to go.
Jesus Christ.
All right. All right. I'll see you guys. All right. See you guys. Have a good one.
I don't really. It's just so fucking ridiculous.
Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and join us in the Nameless Debates Discord. We hope to see you there.